Hi, this is Érika and
Michael.
So this video is gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna be taking 3 characters that Michael made around 5 years ago when he was just starting with CG, and I'm gonna go through them, revising them with the 3 ingredients of character design.
Yeah. So I'm sacrificing my terrible characters that I designed in 2015 because I didn't know what I was doing for the sake of you guys learning something. So I hope you appreciate it.
That's right. And it's not just about saying bad things, it's also about rescuing the things that aren't working and just improving. So just like a quick reminder in case you haven't seen the video about the 3 ingredients of character design, the first ingredient is going to be readability. In the simplest way possible, just a silhouette, we have to know what we are talking about. The next ingredient is breaking monotony with contrast. We can have a simple fish, but anything that is different can make contrast. The third ingredient is balance. Every element in our design is going to have some sort of visual weight. Usually big and dark shapes have more weight, and we have to think on what things are heavier and what things are not, so we can achieve some sort of balance. So this is the first character that we are going to work with. And the symptoms of what is not working is a boring silver ladder, boring balance, but something that is working is that we have the snowman principle. Let me show you why this is a boring silver ladder. The silver ladder is when we divide our characters with lines either horizontal or straight, and if the distribution of the lines is too even, too repetitive, the same size, then we know that the distribution is too boring. And we can see here that we got this main size repeated over and over again, and the only difference is the half of that size. So that's why this is a boring silver ladder. The balance, the scale is also a bit boring. If we divide it by half, well, we have all the elements that are in the exact same distance between each other. This is vertically, and horizontally, if I divide my character in half, we also have these elements almost at the same distance between the middle. So yes, my diagnosis is that this character is too even, is too monotonous. Before doing anything, I like to think of keywords. I like to think of at least a very simple story that we are telling with the character. So I came up with these words: awkward, gentle giant, and dumb or simple-minded. I know that Michael likes to make characters that are silly, dumb looking.
Just like me.
And I made new characters, new proposals of characters based on those keywords and trying to fix the problems that we saw before. My prescription to fixing this is, of course, adding contrast, and I'm proposing heavy versus light, round versus square, and maybe some extra story elements, so there's more to this character. Maybe add extra layers so there's more to read and add some extra interest to the character. And here's my proposals.
Wow, they're quite different. Yeah, well, I mean, it would have looked a lot better if I did that in 2015, wouldn't it? I think that out of these, the one that stuck out to me the most was the third one. Also just thinking in terms of characters that have been redesigned more recently that we use, like Tongueface and what my niece calls Froggy, but I don't have an actual name for it. The third one, because it's got the spots, which are similar to what's on Tongueface's head.
Fair enough.
And I think it's a little bit closer to the original intention with like these sort of buffer arms. And I like how you've added the buff man tattoo. And is he wearing finger gloves? Or is that just sort of, okay.
I tried to keep the awkwardness, like awkward teenager. So I made the spots like acne and like weird body hair. And
like, I think one is cool, but it's probably not really in the same vibe as what, like, it's particularly thinking in terms of characters that I've designed more recently or redesigned recently. Like, they're not meant to be like adventure-y, sword fighty type people.
That's right.
And I like the second one, but I just don't think the eyes are as successful. I like how they're like goat's eyes, but I just think they're the gesture and the overall flow of the third one's a lot more appealing to me.
Yeah, the third one is the one that resembles more the original. Alright, so I'm gonna take the third one and bring it to Procreate.
The only thing I think I'd try, just as an alternative to what we've got here, is just in keeping with the original one, how he had the mohawk, maybe some sort of mohawk version. I kind of want him to have hairy under armpits as well. Just now
it's
that you're
not quite the pose.
yeah, it's not the pose for it, but I think that would be funny. Just since you've said about him being more like an adolescent. Overall, like I think I'd be pretty happy with just running with this one.
Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Alright, the next one is this guy, which I've been calling Snailo.
Snailo.
Yeah.
Like Drano.
I just was thinking adding an O, so it sounds like bad Spanish.
Ah, sort of sounds like Australian as well.
Ah, there you go. Alright, so what are the symptoms here? The first one is the lack of snowman. The snowman having 3 elements of size, small, medium, and big. And here we only see 2 main sizes. So we are lacking maybe a medium, maybe a big. Again, it's all about contrast. Really, everything is contrast, contrast, contrast. The next thing is having a design without character. And what I mean with this is that we have a snail, like, yes, we have a cartoony snail, but I don't see story elements. I don't see at least a small human thing that makes me be interested in this as a character. And something that's cool is that we have little accents breaking the shape. Mainly here, there's like bumps. We have this. Well, yeah, I think that those accents are great because there are little elements that are breaking big shapes. There are little elements that give something more interesting to the whole character. But they're not stealing the design. They're not stealing the attention. They're just little accents like salt on a dish. So I read this character as being grumpy, maybe an old man. He doesn't look very youthful.
Yeah, the wrinkly skin and stuff and jowls, I think is what you'd call it.
Right.
Kind of present that idea.
So that's the main statement of this character. And of course the chin. A lot of the power of this character is driven through the chin.
Yeah.
So when I say that the main statement is overshadowed, is that the chin doesn't have enough contrast against everything else, so it gets lost with the rest of the design.
Mm-hmm.
So my prescription would be maybe to add more squares. The squares are a shape known to be like stubborn. I also have a video regarding shapes that you can watch. Of course, highlight the chin and maybe make a stronger accents. These are good, but I feel like they could be getting a bit lost. And here's my proposals for the character. And I kind of like it being a snail, because actually yours is not a snail, because it doesn't have the shell.
I guess it's a slug.
Yeah, it's a slug. So in mine, I added the little shell.
Now, I'm just going to point something out about these, particularly with the first and the third one.
I was going for 90s weirdness, thinking about real monsters.
Yeah. So it totally reminds me of Crumb from Are Real Monsters, which is which I actually did a 3D model of like a while ago, and someone was like, "Oh my god, that looks like testicles."
I am very cutesy in my designs, which Michael is more 90s weirdness.
Yeah.
So I try to meet that here. But I don't know, you can tell me how successful it is or not.
You know, with that in mind, I think I really like the little shell, how it's just sort of like on his back. Yeah, I kind of would almost want to make a mix of all three, because I like the warts from the third one as well. I kind of like maybe the squareness of the head in the first one, the warts from the third one. I think I prefer the contrast of the maybe the colours on the third one. I feel like the second one looks more dignified rather than curmudgeon-y old man sort of, but I like the shape that you got out of the back, how it's got quite a flat shaped back rather than rounded.
I'm gonna try to make a quick Frankenstein of all these characters, trying to bring together all the elements that you like.
The expression on all of them is a little bit more downcast than grumpy, whereas I like how, just as you're sketching here, it's got the lower lids, which kind of makes it like you could have these sort of creases in the lower lids, which will present more of that oldness, that age. But also,
Right.
if they're sort of just looking up with a squint, that sort of like, sort of look that like an old man might have. Yeah, and I think having the eye, the stalks more vertical, straight vertical, sort of reinforces the squareness of the design,
Yeah.
rather than having these slopes, where the slopes make him look tired. I think that having them more squared out makes him look more stubborn.
Let's check our next character.
I remember this character. This character is kind of disturbing now that I look back at it.
The first thing that I want to talk about this is the compromised readability. If I look at the silhouette of this character, it's not great. I can't quite tell what I'm looking at. And the next thing, which I'm not very keen about, are the disconnector features, some design elements that just look random. Let's say this antenna and this fins over here, that yes, they are sea creature elements, but I don't see how they connect to the design overall.
They don't really have much of a function. They're just sort of like a thing that's been pasted on.
And, well, the most important thing here are the creepy elements. What actually falls in the uncanny valley?
There's a fall off between the attempt to be realistic and then somewhere around the 75% mark of getting to be realistic, there's a big drop off on our perception of how realistic it looks, and it starts to become uncanny. And this is what's called the uncanny valley.
Yeah, it's untrusty for humans.
Yes.
The things that I can see that are the uncanny valley here, first of all, are the eyelashes. Too isolated, too well defined. It kind of reminds me those old dolls. If that's your intention, if your intention is weird, that's fine. Like, the uncanny valley can be used. It's not like just a faux pas because it's weird. But another element that's connected to that are like these cheeks, like this sort of plain changes around the face.
And sort of kind of realistic looking baby lips.
Exactly. And as for this detail on the tentacles, I feel like it's disconnected to the rest of the design that is quite round, quite simple, and this area is way too complex.
There's like all these isolated elements of realism in this character that is quite cartoony.
So, well, in my keywords, of course, I'm including cute, I'm including girly. I guess it's a girl because of the huge eyelashes. And the statement here, probably what carries the main energy of this character is the massive eye. So I want to reclaim that statement. I think that maybe the tentacles are stealing a lot of the attention from the eye, so there's a competition of what's important, what's the statement.
Yeah.
And of course, bring this character back, bring the cuteness back from the uncanny valley. So this is what I made. And I tried to keep some of those design elements that you have, the fins, make them as eyelashes. And I was actually just thinking that I could also make a bow with those fins as well. So you can connect, so they're not random.
I think the second one probably is the one that's most appealing here to me. The only thing is I don't think I'm sold on the idea of having a bow. If I'm going to use a prop for this character, I would rather it have something to do with underwater, like a shell or something like that. If there was a story in mind and the bow made sense, then yeah, that's something that you could commit to. But I think prior to there being a story, and this is sort of a problem with designing characters abstractly, is that if you don't have a story in mind, it's very difficult to design them because you don't know what they need.
Yes.
To be a character, to exist in whatever world they are meant to exist in.
That's why we need at least keywords. You don't need like a huge character profile. It's useful, but if you had a couple of keywords that can guide you, then you're not designing abstractly. And here, to achieve the cuteness, I try to keep the level of abstraction the same everywhere. So the texture is quite simplified on the tentacles. I made the tentacles a lot more rounder instead of having them on point. And I try to associate it with other things that we regard as cute. The first two ones are babies. Babies are just cute. And the third one, I based it on those bunnies with really long ears, floppy ears. Mm-hmm. So I turned that into tentacles. That's it.
That's
it.
it.
3 characters.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I hope I did not disappoint you with my designs.
No, I thought they were very good. It makes me want to go through and remodel them and stuff as well. Maybe we'll do that at some point. Add that to something. I'm not sure.
Would be interesting. You can tell us if you like any character in particular. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching.
And we'll see you in the next video.
That's it for this tutorial. If you find it useful, make sure that you leave a like so other people can find it. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, as we are bringing out CG and illustration tutorials every week. Become a patron and access tutorial assets, bonus content, a private Discord, and more by clicking in the link below.